Welcome to today's tutorial. Today we want to look at the basic editing tools in AutoCAD. So we go down here and then choose the show menu bar option, and then now that we have the menu bar, we go to toolbars, AutoCAD toolbars, and then we go to modifier. So the modify tool is docked by our right hand side. And so the first tool on that modifier tool palette is the erase tool. Of course, this will help you erase objects from the drawing. So we choose this erase tool now and then select any objects that we want to erase. Let's say we want to erase this table, and after selecting, of course, we can select multiple options as well. And then when we are done, we hit the enter or the space bar as the case may be. So there we have the object have been erased from our project. The next tool we want to look at is the copy tool. This will help you copy objects of a specific distance or to a specific distance as well. Of course, we can copy reference. Let's say I want to copy this object here. I select the object and then I hit the copy tool options, and then I copy. Now let's right click and press enter and undo. And then let's say we want to copy with reference. So I choose this object now, and then I choose the copy to option as well as choose a reference point. So that's my reference point. Of course, I can want to use this as the next point, reference point of placing it. So having done that, I right click and hit the enter option. I can also copy with a distance or with an array. Let's say I select the copy tool and then I have this object copied. Right click and then I specify the first point, which is the point of reference, and then I want to copy them and duplicate them on these other sides. So I want to use array, and then I will have to specify the numbers of items that I want. Let's say I want to have 5, and I hit the enter button or the space bar. So the next option for me is to specify the second point of reference. Of course, the distance far from the distance from the first reference point. So I'm going to allow 3,000 millimeters. That's 3 meters. So you see, at 3 meters, these objects are arranged equally. The same way we can also go vertically. So without wasting time, we then move to the next tool, which is the mirror tool. Of course, this will help you create a mirrored copy of any selected object of your choice. Let's say I want to mirror this desk, and then this sofa, and I want to mirror it vertically. So having selected that, I will hit the mirror options, and the next option for me is to specify the mirror point or reference point. So let's go horizontal, and there you see, if I go this way, it will still put it on the vertical, provided my auto mode is on. And then it will ask me if I will erase the source. In other words, do you want to erase this source? And I hit the no option. Aside from that, I can also choose to mirror as a group of objects as well. So having select that, I hit the mirror tool, and then I want to mirror using the vertical options, and then I click OK, or specify that line option that I want it to use as reference points to mirror, and I say no. Of course, you can always use a specific reference point as the case may be. Let's say we have this and we want to use this as our reference point of mirror. In other words, it will place it on equal distance apart from far from this. Let's put that into practice. So I will specify this, and then I will go down here. So you see, equal distance here is what we have in here. So you can always mirror with a reference. That's not all. We also have the offset tools. Of course, this will help you create a concentric circles or parallel lines, or even an object are far from the other one. So haven't specified the the tool that I want, which is the offset tool. I will now specify the distance apart that I want to offset. And so now let's say I want to have 1 meters apart. So I will select this line tool, this line that I want to offset, and then click the direction that I want the offsets to lie. And so I'll click it again, and I will also select it, click it, select it, and then click it again. So you see at 1 meters or 1000 millimeters apart, these objects have been duplicated or recreated, as the case may be. Of course, the next tool we want to look at is the rectangular array. Of course, this will help you distribute object copies into a combinations of groups. And so now we will select this object and attempt to array it. I will select that. We hit the array button. Of course, the contextual tabs array creation one will appear, and so there will be options for you to influence your array output results or end results or setting, as the case may be. So now the parameters we have here default is 4 columns and 4 rows. Of course, you know these are rows, and so we have 3 of it, which is here, and then we also have 4 columns, pardon me. So 1, 2, 3, 4 columns. Of course, I can put my cursor here and wish to have 6 columns and wish to have 4 rows. And so, having said that, I can choose to define the distance between these objects. So currently we're having 3000 plus. Let's say I want to have 4 meters in between them as regards the row, the distance in between it in the row section. And then I wish to have 3 meters apart in between the column. Well, let's go 5 meters so you can notice the difference in it. So that's what we have there. So 5 meters apart, 5 meters apart, but this will be in this row 4 meters and 4 meters apart as well. Of course, you can always manually shrink the sizes after drawing. You can always shrink those numbers after drawing, but it will maintain the distance apart. When you're comfortable with what you have so far, you hit the close array tool. Of course, you can always select it and then go back to this extension option and then increase your array counts as well. Let's hit the escape button. Next on our tool palette or editing tool palette is the move. Of course, this will help you move objects from a specific distance as well. Of course, you can also move with reference. So let's say I want to move this object. I'll select the object and hit the move tool, and then the next thing I will need is to specify a base point, in other words, a reference point. I could choose anywhere and then move it, or I could as well select it, hit the move tool, and then pick a reference point and then move it with reference. I could move it with reference again as well. And so there we have it. Next is the rotation tool. So this helps you rotate an object around a specific base of it. So let's say we have this object, this polygon, and we want to rotate it. So having selected the object, we hit the rotate tool, and we specify a point of reference. We can choose the center of this, or we can choose anywhere. So if we rotate it, but if we put our auto mode off, we can be able to specify any rotation manually, or we can simply type a rotation angle, say 45. and then we hit OK button. So any of the option, you are good to go. Now, the next tool we want to look at is the scale tool. Of course, this will help you enlarge or reduce an object while keeping every section of the drawing in uniform. So without wasting time, let's scale this object, our text here. So we select our text and hit the scale to option, and so we want to enlarge it. So we select this point as a reference point, and to the right we go. To the left, it will reduce as we draw closer to the center line. But if we go far away from the center line, it enlarges. This is the mode that we use to enlarge in these versions of Revit. But lower versions of AutoCAD, very lower versions of AutoCAD like 2010 and so you don't have that. There's a different way to go about that. But this one, as you drive or tilt your hand towards the center or the origin or the base, it reduces. But if you go far away, it enlarges. So take note of that. Of course, after that, you can click when you're comfortable with that scaling. You can also select it and then specify a scale. So after hitting the scale tool, I specify a base point. Of course, I want to double the size, so I can simply just type 2 and hit the enter. So that doubles the size of it. Let's move this out here. The next tool we want to look at is the stretch tool. Of course, this helps you stretch objects crossed by a section window. So we select the stretch tool and then we go to our rectangle. We want to stretch this section of the rectangle. After selecting the part that we want to stretch, we hit the enter button and then we click and define the length that we want to stretch. We could say we want to stretch it by 1000, and there we go. Same thing, you can also stretch vertically if you so wish. So we define the portion that we want to stretch and then we hit the enter button and then we stretch it, let's say 2000 upward. We hit the enter key. So that is the stretch tool. Of course, you also must take note of the fact that you can't stretch a block. If you attempt to stretch a block, you won't be able to do that, except that block is exploded as well. So we go to the next tool, which is the trim tool. This helps you trim objects to meet the edges of another. Let's say we want to trim these objects that have crossed this other's part. So we simply choose the trim tool option, and then when we specify the objects, and then those objects will be erased as well. Let's undo that and do it so you see the steps behind. You just simply select the trim tool, go to the line that crosses each other, point to it. You're going to see an indicator or a preview of what it will look like when you hit your mouse button. So when you click, that is what will take place. You also can erase this as the case may be. When you're done, you press the enter key or you right click and hit the enter button. So let's undo that now. The next tool we want to look at is the extend tool. Of course, this helps you extend objects to meet the lines that is close to it. So in this case, we simply select the extend tool, and then when we select the extend tool, we click towards the edges that we want that line to be extended. So when we click it once, it will extend. If we click it again, it will extend to the next line. Like that, it's a continuous process. It wasn't often this way in lower versions, but this is the way it has been programmed in these versions, that when you point, it extends to the next, and to the next line as well. Previously, you used to define where you want it to extend to manually. The next tool we want to look at is the break at a point tool. But before we do that, let us type DS on the keyboard and hit enter. So when you hit enter, you're going to have options here under this object snaps to select all, and then to enable all your snap to two options, of course. So we hit OK when we are done, and then we go back to our break at a point tool, and then having select that tool, we are asked to select the object. So we select this object being the rectangle that we want to break. Of course, take note that if you point to this object, it has an end point and there is no other break point. Of course, aside from that, you have the middle point, and then you also have another end point here. But it is one single object. It's in a closed loop. And so if we specify a breakpoint, let's say we want to break where this other line extends to meet, we simply point our mouse at that point in that line that we want to break and click. Of course, that will initiate the break command. So you see that that place has a break. And then we can also, and this other part is separated from the entire rectangle. Of course, let's press the escape key. We can further break this other one by selecting the break tool again, and then we'll be requested to select the object that we want to break, and then we then specify at a point that we wish to break, let's say anywhere here, and then by selecting this, you see they have become two separate lines as well. This is a separate line, and then press escape to select this. This is a separate line. So that's what the break at a point tool does. Of course, the next we want to look at is the breakpoint. This, as the name implies, helps you break a point, and you define the space in between the point that you are breaking. So having select that break tool, we are to specify the object or select the object that wants to break, and then when we click at that point, the break has initiated. What's left for you now is to define the length or the gap or the distance, as the case may be. So let's say we want to break it this at a distance of 1000 millimeters or 1 meters apart. After inputting that, we hit the enter key, and so you see this as a distance apart of 1000, and so that's what we have there. We can break even a vertical line. Let's say we pick the break tool again and we click this, and then we type a distance of about 1500 millimeter. That's 1.5 meter. So you see these lines have been separated and have been broken apart. So the next tool we want to look at now is the join tool. Of course, this will help you join any parts or any objects that are in line with each other on the same part or part. So now let's see, we want to join this line again. So having select the join tool, we select this object, and then we select object 2. They must be on the same plane. Take note of that. They must be on the same plane. And then having select the two of them, we press enter key. So they have now joined themselves and have become one single line as well. So the next on the list is the chamfer tool. So this helps you bevel the edges of objects. So in our previous lesson, we have treated chamfer though, but it's ideal that we treat that again. So we want to chamfer this line. We want them to join and join with a chamfer. So we're going to select the chamfer tool. Of course, we select the object that we want to chamfer, and there we go. So the chamfer angle at that point is at 0 degree. Of course, you can always influence the chamfer angle by selecting it, and then you specify the angle and say you want to chamfer them at 45, at angle 45, and then the second one will be at angle 45. So equal angle chamfer of these edges would now take place. So that's angle 45 there. The next is the fillet tool. Of course, we have treated this previously, but it's ideal we do it again because they are modifying tools also. We want to fillet these lines. So we don't want to have a chamfer edge, we want to fillet. So of course we can simply hit this and hit this other one, but we haven't defined an angle. So what we need to do is to define the fillet angle. So the chamfer. pardon me, the fillet. So having select the fillet, and then we want to specify the radius. So let's say we want to have a radius of 70, and then there we are good to go. And then the next option is for us to specify the first object and the second object as well. And there you have that fillet radius of 70 there. So the next tool is the blend curves tool. Of course, this will help you create a tangent or smooth spline between the edges of two curves. So let's say we have this curves. This is a curves and this is a curves. And so we're going to select the blend curves tool, hit the first curve, and then hit the second curve. So they will join and then producing a blend. Of course, we can do the same here. We hit the blend curves tools, and then we select the first one, and then we select the second curve. Whether the curves were drawn using an arc or was drawn using a spline, they will still blend. All right. So lastly, we go to explode. This will break a compound object into separates. Let's say we had a compound object of this when we selected these chains. Of course, if we initiate the break command, having selected the object, those objects will be separated into different parts as well. The same applies if you want to break a block. Let's say we have a block in here, this block, and then we choose the break or the explode tool, pardon me, and then we cover or select the object. And having selected the object that we want to explode, then we hit the enter key. So you see this object will be exploded into parts as well. That's all we have on the modifying toolbar. I hope you had a nice time. Please do remember to subscribe, to like, to share, and hit the notification button on so you receive new lessons as we will be uploading them for you. Thank you so much. We promise to give you the very best next time. And please remain abundantly blessed. Thank you.